You can't help people who hurt you. You are no good to anyone that's going to hurt you. If a firefighter goes into a building, realizes someone is in there, they need help, and they go in, they have a certain amount of oxygen in those tanks. While their uniforms are created for fires where it would be flame retardant, they literally just cannot stay in the fire the whole time. They have to get in and get out. They can't even walk directly in the blaze. But nevertheless, they have a certain amount of time to go in, do what they need to do. Their equipment is placed in a certain area, so certain way, okay? So if they go in there and they're trying to save someone and the person is attacking them and fighting them and running further into the fire because they want to go and get their PlayStation 5 out, okay, or whatever the reason, they don't trust the firefighter and they begin to attack them, the firefighter may or may not, but most likely will probably make an effort to try to calm them down and talk to them and help them to understand that they're there to help them. But if the person was literally trying to attack them, trying to sabotage them, trying to pull off their mask, trying to compromise their oxygen, that firefighter would have to withdraw. Okay? They would have to withdraw. And so I give you that example because sometimes you're with people who are hurting you and you're trying to help them. You can't help a person that's being an enemy. If they're trying to hurt you, they're not an ally. They are your enemy. I don't care who it is. I don't care what their title is. I don't care what your relationship is to them. I don't care what your relation is to them. I don't care if you have DNA shared with that person. I don't care if you share the same mother, you share the same father, you share the same shoe size. If you have a person that deliberately tries to hurt you, you cannot help them. Now, let's be clear. It is human nature to make mistakes, to do errors, and sometimes you're mad, you say something, okay? It's human nature, to be upset. You may lash out and say something you shouldn't say. You would choose to do something that may be selfish at times. You may just make certain decisions that you just felt like it. Growing up as a teenager or whatever, you may have done things that disappointed your parents, maybe even gave them heartache coming up. You're going through your own phases. You felt your parents don't know what they're talking about, ran away, did whatever, got involved with the wrong crowd, just different things. There are phases in our lives that we go through that it's not good. But you really just want to do this thing and you think it's fine and you're growing. As you're growing and you're maturing, there are things that you will just do. And sometimes you make selfish decisions because you still have this mind frame from youth or whatever. But nevertheless, we're still accountable for our actions. So while we can make mistakes, what is key is how you handle it. I've done something wrong. I'm sorry. I should not have done that. And really mean that. And really stick to that. But when you're around people that sabotage you all the time, when you've had enough years with them, I'll talk about if you have siblings, parents, you've had a few decades with these individuals to know how they are. You have enough time, you would have had enough time to know how they are, to know, listen, you know their character, you know how they are. Everyone in the family can identify each of their siblings and family members in different ways. You're going to be able to know who's the calm one, who's the irrational one, who's the hothead, who's the mediator, who is the one that's most likely to do something wrong, take risk. You know these things because you've lived with them and you've experienced them, and they have patterns of behaviors that you've been familiar with all your life. They're going to know who's the soft one in the family, who's the one that's going to forgive all the time, who won't forgive, who is the volatile one, who will be the violent one, who's a fighter. Okay? All those things you're going to know. So when it comes to your own family and your blood, people outside of your household cannot get in your business and tell you what's reality and what's not, because they don't live with them. We all have a different face. There are plenty of abusive parents who are beating the life, blood, snot, veins out of their children in the house, and they are like the angels of society. People love them. They hold them up because they put on a different face. So you know more than anybody who your people is. You know who you are related to. You know who they are. So you would have had years to really know for sure who you're dealing with. So when you make a decision and a choice, you did not make just some rash, crazy decision. If you made a decision that I can't fool with these individuals, or I must separate, or I have to limit my associations, I have to sort of use discretion in how I'm going to deal with them, if at all, you know what you're talking about. Okay? But sometimes what will happen is you will think you'll be trying to help them. They need help. And you're established. They recognize that you're established, and they're going to ask you to do something that they would never do for you. They ask you to do the very thing that they denied you when you needed them. But because you're a good person, because you care for them, you will let them in your life. But then once they get what they need, they may humble themselves enough for you to open that door. They get in, they lash out, they do all these different things, and now you're hurt. Some of you are picking up the pieces from your credit, helping people. I know, because I've experienced that and building it back up to this day. All right? Helping people, because what? You have great credit. People need you to help them to do something based on who they are, and you, especially who they are, you would think there's no way this person would not do right. So you may get someone, open up and get them a loan and help them to start a business, help them to get a car, do these different things. And what happens? They don't make those payments. And then they get angry with you and tell you need to understand their position. And what's the big deal? And nobody told you to do it in the first place. You didn't have to. You chose to. And now it becomes your problem, right? And so you have to build yourself back up. But I want to tell you guys, on just going off on that, is to trust God. Do the right things. Pay your creditors. Pay those debts back. Because when you do the right thing, even though, yes, you open it up for somebody else, but it's in your name. Handle it. Do what you can. Settle if you can settle, and pay off some things. And believe me, God, seeing you making those efforts and doing the right things, He'll give you favor. He'll give you favor. That even if what you're trying to get, let's say you don't qualify it for whatever reason, you'll get it. Because God knows what you had before. He knows the circumstances, and He sees that you're trying to build it back up. That you're doing the effort to give back. Even though you never got to spend a dime of that money, He sees that you're still honoring that loan and paying it back. So things like that. You're trying to help them, they damage your credit. You try to help them, let them move into property, they damage your property. You try to help them, hire them, they're giving you a hard time. They're starting problems on your job. You recommended them, they get on the job and turn everybody against you. You loan them a few dollars here or there, and now they expect that money from you. And the minute you cannot help them, or the minute you begin to talk to them about bettering themselves, they will disrespect you, curse you out. And it's like you're the worst thing ever. You allow them to come and live in your home, and now they're rolling around with your husband, or rolling around and been sleeping with your wife. You cannot help those who want to hurt you. And sometimes you have to be very, very careful. Especially when you are a person who have empathy, you care for people. With that, you must have discretion and wisdom and discern. You may look at someone and they have a sad story, and all their life they've had to fight. All their life they have this going on, and this happened and that happened. And what you need to be able to do is ask God to reveal to you how they got there. Because sometimes there are people that some unfortunate things happens to them and it could not have been helped. But then there's some people, things happen to them because they were irresponsible. Sometimes people do things because they were wicked and evil with the things that they had. Sometimes things happen to people because what you guys call karma, it's the word of God says, what you sow, you will reap. So they've done some things, they've lived a certain way, and they're just getting the seeds, the harvest of what they've planted. I'll give you an example of King Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible. He was mighty, he was powerful, he was full of pride. And so what eventually happened to King Nebuchadnezzar, because of his pride and how he was, and he had a bad temper as well. Okay, he threatened to cut people in pieces and throw them in a fire. He was just going back and forth. He was a hothead. He was wise, and he was a wise, in battle and all of that, but he had a hothead. He would switch up. So he lost everything. He lost his kingdom. He was driven out of his kingdom, and he lost his mind as well. And so they said that his hair grew long as feathers and his fingernails grew into claws. And basically that's just being homeless. It means his hair just grew, and he might have been a hairy guy. Okay, and so if he's unkempt, his hair grew long, got tangled, he's dirty, his fingernails are super long. Okay, depending on how much keratin he has. And so he looks disheveled, and he's out there, and someone seeing him and not knowing the backstory, not knowing him, would be like, oh my gosh, but not knowing that it was already, God had already ordained that for 7 years he's going to be in that state because of his actions when he had everything. And sometimes there are people, guys, who they're going from house to house, place to place, can't seem to get established, can't seem to get their life together. Always somebody doing something to them. Sometimes you better look carefully at that, because again, not in all cases, but in some cases, people are going through things because of their disobedience, defiance, not doing what God told them to do when they need to do it, making poor choices where God was telling them to make better choices, being evil to other people when they have the money and the resources to do it, doing things, stealing from people, undermining people, doing all this kind of stuff. So they have, when you do evil and you do wrong, it's going to come back to you. And sometimes that's exactly where they are in their lives. And here you go and listen to their sad story. All your empathy and all your love is out there, but you did not discern that you were bringing in a person that's going to be problematic in your life. Somebody must know what I'm talking about here. You listen to their stories. They cried. They got to the church and said something. Or the pastor came to you and asked you if you can help this person get a job. They know you have a business. Oh, can you let the sister live in your house because you're a single mother and you're by yourself, or you're just a single woman, single man. Can you let him come in? Can you let them help? And you being, eye fully dilated and just looking at your pastor with that tinge of light in your big dilated eyes, just not listening to the voice of God, or that nagging feeling like, this is not right. You let them move in, and now you have problems, and now you're being evicted, and now you've got a squatter, and now they're bringing all types of strange folks in your house. You cannot help those who hurt you. And the word says, by their fruit you shall know them. It means action speaks louder than words. What they do is who they are. What they do consistently is who they are. Not mistakes, not errors, not just human failures. We're talking about deliberate, targeted behaviors. Things they do to you that they don't do to someone else. They behave this way with you at home, but they go outside and do something different. They behave this way at home, but then when people come over, they're different. It is targeted. It is deliberate. It is something that they can control, but they choose not to. You can't help a person who wants to hurt you. You can't help a person who's trying to stab you in the back. You can't sit down to eat with someone who have an axe. You would not have somebody that's standing with a chainsaw and they're coming towards you and you're, oh yeah, let's sit down and eat. Let's relax. You're not going to do that. But you have to be able to discern people, and the way you're going to know is through their behaviors and through their actions. You can't keep jealous people around you. People with bad tempers. Do you notice how you will change when you're around a person who has a bad attitude and a bad temper? You'll be doing everything in your power not to make them mad. You will find yourself looking over at them and your shoulders will be up. You're tense. You're not relaxed because you're hoping that they don't just blow their lid. If you go out with them, you're tense. You're hoping that they don't drink. You're hoping that you're trying not to you shrink yourself down. You be as quiet as possible not to make them upset. And then, of course, you have the passive aggressive types. You're going to feel everything that they're doing, but you're never going to be able to call them on anything because they're not going to do anything directly. It'll be indirectly. And then you'll seem like you're crazy when you're talking to them and trying to figure out what's going on. They'll deny it, give you very short, cool answers, clipped answers, and just stay silent on you and say nothing's wrong. You got to go through that whole game with them. And you will change emotionally and mentally because you don't want to make them mad. You don't want to go through this long, dry season of trying to get them back again. And being able to step away from these individuals does not make you a bad person. Because if not, they will destroy your life. If not, they will cause you to lose your mind, lose weight, lose your hair, lose your associations. You could lose everything that you have worked hard for. You could lose your family. You could lose your husband. You could lose your wife. You could lose your property. You could lose your freedom. And did I say life? You can lose your life. So you have to be careful who you let around you. And you have to also you have to face the reality of who these people are in front of you. How many times are they going to keep telling you that they're sorry? How many times are they going to keep giving you a story of why they did that? How many times are you going to listen to the story of, what childhood they had and what happened to them? You're not the only person that your mom has left you. You're not the only person that's been abused. You're not the only person that's experienced heartache and pain. You're not the only person who's been abandoned by their family. You're not the only person that was left on the doorstep as a baby. And I am not trying to negate those things. I'm not trying to minimize the pain, but there are plenty of people who go through these things and worse, and they do not become hateful and bitter, and they do not weaponize those experiences. So people who behave this way, they find comfort in their pain. They're not going to let go of those things. And it's not that it's easy to just, I just got hurt. It's no big deal. It's not that. But instead of learning how to be healed as best as possible, what they're going to do is they're going to play on it. I have a right to abuse you because I was abused. I have a right to be abused, to physically assault you because I was physically assaulted. And you need to remember my story. You need to remember what I went through. There are people that's going through worse things. Not that these individuals and whatever you go through is not valid, but it's not an excuse. And don't allow people to do that. I always give this example as I close out. As I snap my finger right now, if I snap my finger, you see, the first time I snapped it, that sound has happened in time. It is gone. I will never be able to get that exact same snap again. The second snap that I did was second. I can never recapture that. I can never go back and redo that exact same snap. This third one that I do, you hear it again. It sounds the same. It was the same set of fingers, same arm that was used to do it, but it is completely different from the first two. I can't go back and recapture that very moment, those few seconds that have passed. The words that I've spoken has already been spoken. The last 20 minutes is done. I may be able to do another 20 minutes of something later on. I'll be able to do another 20 something minutes on another Monday morning, but it will not be the same because our moments in life, that today is today is today. There may be another Monday, or for some of you Tuesday, but it's not going to be the same one. So you can't afford to waste your life on people. You have to think of how many years you've already spent trying to get this person to love you, trying to get this person to change, trying to be a great brother, trying to be a great sister, trying to be a great parent, trying to be a great daughter, trying to be a great son, trying to let them understand you love them, letting them in your life, letting them ruin your credit, letting them ruin your property, letting them ruin your car, scratching your vehicle, not taking responsibility for it, demanding things from you, feeling entitled because they're victims of abuse and victims of hurt and victims of pain. So they go around creating victims because they were victims, and everybody's supposed to just victim together, stay together. But remember, I'm the main victim in chief. No. Don't allow people to break you down. It is a choice. You are not supposed to pay for somebody else's what somebody else did to somebody. And be aware, there's a lot of broken people walking around. They haven't dealt with their issues. They just go looking for a host that they can take over. And 9 times out of 10, mean people do not try to date or marry or befriend other mean individuals. Not for meaningful relationships. They're looking for a nice person. They're looking for a person who has sympathy and empathy so they can use them. They want a loving man and a loving woman to love them. They love that you love them. They love that you're a good friend. A friend that they can abuse and mistreat and get loans and drive your car and be in your car and do all this stuff while ridiculing you and hurting you and whispering about you. This friend, this person that's in your life, you bring them around your friends, and next thing you know, you have no friends. You bring this family member around your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your fiance, whatever, and next thing you know, they're trying to squeeze into that. You ever have that relative, that cousin? I hear people talk about this cousin. This cousin that you got to watch around your boyfriend or your girlfriend, because you have this cousin that has a habit of being a flirt. Always got to make sure that they can get the eye of the person you're with. That's an enemy. That's not your cousin. That's an enemy. Any man or woman that tries to get the attention and want to flirt with and try to befriend and get the phone number of your husband, your boyfriend, your fiance, your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance, and they call and they text and they do all these things trying to be, oh, we're just family. No, you need to stop that. It's not that you're jealous. You shut it down. Look, I've noticed you've done this over the years, but we're not about to play these games. Get your own relationship. Stop what you're doing, because I'm not going to allow you to keep flirting with my husband, with my wife. Stop it. No, it's not jealousy. Stop doing what you're doing. It's inappropriate. But guess what? You're not going to say that, right? You made it feel, oh, that's wrong because that's family. That's why they do that. They know you're going to hold on to those values, but they're not. See people for who they are. I'm not telling you that you're supposed to walk in hurt and pain. I follow Christ. So, but in addition with that, I'm not just reading the Bible, all the good spots, all the sweet spots about love and forgiveness. That's in there. But I must also follow the other parts of the Bible in the book of Proverbs that tells you to be wise, to be careful who you're around, not to just believe somebody because of what they say. I follow Jesus, how he was. Jesus was not a pushover. He was not a pushover. He was kind, he was giving, he was long suffering, but he spoke up. He corrected people. That's why they ended up crucifying him, because he was too outspoken. He didn't listen to what they had to say. They didn't like that he stood on what he believed. So you have to understand that with me, let me get to me for a second. While I do follow the Lord and all of that, I am in a place where I am not only looking at the Word of God and watching my heart, but also learning the character of Christ through the Word of God and as he leads me day by day. So while I can help people, I don't allow myself to be abused. If I'm helping someone, he gives me discretion, discernment. If my heart goes out for someone, sometimes he has to stop me and say, no, there's more to this story. Don't get too involved here. You must use discretion. You must use discernment. And what's in every person, whether they are a believer in the Lord or not, is intuition. You know when someone's not right. You're just going to get that, I don't know. You'll see it sometimes before you get close to them. They got that little look, that shady look, those little beady rat eyes. Just depending, just something about them is not right. And what happens? You allow them to get close to you. You begin to believe the narrative, all the stuff. And before you know it, what you see fades away. And only when they're standing over you with this evil smirk or have done you wrong, do you see that stain? Do you see those beady rat eyes looking out at you? Do you see that great disdain and dislike? Or sometimes you catch it when you happen to turn around and see them giving you that evil look, looking like Michael Myers / Chucky / Chucky. Preferably Michael Myers. You know how Michael Myers mask look in Halloween. When you see that nasty look that they give you, that they quickly shift it, and they smile or they look away or they just give you this death stare and you're going, what in the heck was that? You may say that. Guys, that was truth. That was them. That's what's inside. You can't help those who hurt you. It's not about being unforgiving. It's not about you being mean, but you must safeguard yourself, your family, your lineage, your future. And a lot of times, some of you, God has blessed you and he's given you great things. You've worked from the ground up for things. You've worked hard for things in your life. You've gone through your blood, sweat, tears. You've been in your wilderness. You've been through, you've been ground down to the ground and brought up and built up. All of that. You've been cleansed with a fuller's soap. You've gone through the refiner's fire, and now you're blessed. And now you here letting in somebody into your space and in your life and sharing your things and opening up your journals and opening up your blueprints for your future. Just showing somebody who's never been nowhere, who's not willing to be disciplined, who's not willing to stay in the wilderness, who's not willing to study hard, who is not willing to discipline themselves and deny themselves some things to get to where they are. So they come into your space full of jealousy, full of envy, feeling you don't deserve it, and destroy everything you have. But you will end up being like King Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible. What happened with King Nebuchadnezzar? King Hezekiah. King Hezekiah had so many things, and he was sick, and he almost died, and he was going to die. And God gave him 10 more years. And he was happy. The princes of Babylon came with gifts to make sure that he was okay. And he was like, yeah, I'm fine. Let me show you the place. So he takes them into every room. No part of the palace did he not show the princes of Babylon. And because of that, it displeased the Lord, because he didn't use discretion. He was probably happy that he's going to live again. He was just looking at, oh man, they brought me some gifts. These guys are nice. But guess what happened? It was the same princes of Babylon. It was Babylon that came and lay hold of the children of the children of Israel and plundered the palaces of Hezekiah and took out all the gold and all the precious things that he had, because he brought them in and showed them around because he thought they were his friends. You can't show people everything that you have. You can't bring people around you that have a track record of doing you wrong and sharing things. They don't need to know your business. You can't let them into your space. No, you can't stay in my house. No, you can't drive my car. I'm going to give you a ride, but you're not going to drive my car. No, you're not going to spend the night. No, I'm not sending my children to your house for the night. You have to use discretion, not only with yourself, but with your children. Because people who will hurt you will hurt your seed. And they may hurt them in either by really hurt them by physically hurting them, or saying things, playing mind games, or use them to hurt you. How will they hurt your seed? Okay, by turning your children against you. You may have loved ones that's like that. You may have a parent that's like that. You may have somebody, whoever it is in your life, you're trying to be nice, they turn the children against you. So they will, in order to hurt you, get close to your children, tell them all types of little things about you, allow the children to do things that they should not do when they're at their home and in their care. Allow your daughters to go and hang out. Allow her to invite people over. Allow your sons to go somewhere. Invite them. Allow people to come into the space. Do things at their house that they normally wouldn't do at yours. All to set your children up for failure. And another thing, as I said, is to gain the trust of the children and turn them against you. So they have alliances. You lose the loyalty and the connection you have with your children. The same way that you are where you are in your life today, the choices that you've made, you've had your failures, your ups, your downs, your highs, your lows, your cry, you were humbled, all this stuff, and you got to the place where you are and God led you and helped you to be where you need to be. They need to do that too. These are grown adults. And they have to be willing to change. They have to be willing to deal with whatever's going on inside of them. But that is not your problem. I'm not in any way telling you to be callous and indifferent to people. And especially when you're a believer in the Lord, we have to show love. But what is love exactly? What does that look like in the eyes of God? Is love just letting someone do whatever they want to do? Is love allowing someone to abuse you? Is love allowing someone to just be reckless? Is love being irresponsible and just being open to whatever? No. I believe there are certain times that God will let you hold your peace and you will be still. And this is giving that person every opportunity to get themselves together, make them right. You may forgive them several times. God allows them to see kindness, to see what goodness looks like, to see what long suffering looks like. But at some point, God's going to pull you up, because otherwise you'll be riddled with all the stuff they throw out your way. Your purpose goes beyond parents. Your purpose goes beyond siblings. Your purpose goes beyond your children. Your purpose goes beyond your demographic, your culture, your people, your skin color. It goes beyond that. We are spirit. And so your purpose and what God made you for is not so you can stay on this block, in this house, being abused by these people, never growing up, never being able to do anything, and just being stuck spinning your wheels, arguing about the same things. You are not created to be plundered and abused and taken for granted. While it may happen, one of the things that's important to have with all that you're doing is to have the wisdom, discretion, the understanding, the discernment, the knowledge that comes from God. And it's something that is learned over time as you submit to Him. You're going to be able to see somebody a million miles away in what they're doing. He'll reveal to you what this person is doing. You may even have a dream about this person, something that they're doing in high definition. You may discover something. When you discover people talking about you, good. That's a good thing. You discover this person's being unfaithful, good. That's a good thing. At the time it happens, you just, it's hard, but you don't realize that the Word of God tells us what's done in secret will be brought to light. God shows you. And it's up to you if you're going to learn or allow the person to cry and, I'm so sorry. No, they're not. They're not sorry. If they were sorry, they would not have done it. You caught them. So learn these hard truths. Otherwise, you're going to be destroyed. You must have a good stewardship of what you've been blessed with, especially once you have children. You cannot have the pestilence and the arrows that's flying by day and all kinds of stuff and all kinds of calamities coming at your doorstep in your house, bringing drama to you because you're entangled with this person and not seeing what's before you just because you have the same last name, just because they put a ring on your finger, just because they were your bestie back in the day. See who's before you right now. Watch their patterns. See what they do consistently. Believe that. Cry about it. Be sad about it. But move forward and heal. All right, guys. Peace.